What's going on, guys? This is episode 16 of Dispersing the Cloud. And let me pull up my notes real quick and we'll get going. I do have Facebook set up this time. So again, I will do my best to answer questions and or acknowledge you guys when you pop on. I've had a couple complaints in the past for not doing that, but I'm getting better. So just a little recap of the week. We did a 5K last Saturday for Camp Barnabas. Camp Barnabas is a camp for special needs children and adults, and I'll be going to Camp Barnabas at the beginning of June. So the first week of June, I'll be going out there with Vinewood Community Church, and we're going to spend a week out there and kind of just hang out and check it out. So we did that. We had Easter on Sunday. It was a big Sunday for Liberty Towers because we switched over to 2 services, and there was quite a few people there for Easter. So big service there. We did a Honda commercial on Monday and Tuesday with Fragoza Media and again with Dwyer Productions. What else? Mixing for the album. I did some mixing yesterday for the album, and it's getting much closer. Some of the songs that didn't have direction now have direction, so that's kind of encouraging. And the books arrived. Josh and the Sock Army books are here. Thank you, God. For the love of God, they're finally here. I have to make some stop-offs next week and get those books out to some of the schools who have been very patiently waiting for them. So I'm very excited to get that, to get those out. The process for this episode, I tweeted, for all these things, every week I will send out maybe, not enough, but maybe like 20 tweets a week, and it'll be on whatever I'm reading or whatever is going to be in this podcast. So if you guys want to follow throughout the week on Twitter, you can do that, and you'll kind of catch some quotes from the book, which are always inspirational, always helpful, and always insightful to the stuff that I'm doing for me. So I had tweeted that the grind is supposed to hurt. They call it the grind because the grind is supposed to hurt. When you're doing your own thing and you don't have a steady paycheck, and you're really just fighting to provide for yourself, it is a grind. Like, it hurts. Like, every bit of cash just like disappears into like the next project that I'm doing. So it's very, very difficult. This week was a hard week for me. Just being frustrated with the projects that I have not going speedily. And around Thursday, it really felt like nothing could go right. And that's on a week where we had 2 production shoot days, and I made really good money on those days. But again, that money comes in and literally disappears right into projects, right into mixing for the album, right into paying the loan back for the books, right into a million different other things that I have going on. So it really is like, forget paycheck to paycheck. You're really just skimming on trying to get your projects up and going. I had a really good conversation with my buddy Nate last night. Oh, little flashback. I also filmed a little how-to on beard prep stuff, and I'm going to post that video. I filmed it with my buddy's wife Amanda. She runs a salon out of their house, the Kitchen Beautician, and she's out of Galt. So if you guys are in Galt, California, you need someone to do your hair. She does weddings. She's fantastic. Anyway, she's responsible for this today. Did a beard blowout for me. So we'll post that video up on my actual YouTube page. If you guys aren't following me on my YouTube page, just look up Sam Fragoza. This obviously is Dispersing the Cloud YouTube page. Or if you're watching it Facebook Live, it's Facebook Live. So, yeah, the grind is real. That is basically my process for the week. And by Thursday, it just felt like nothing could go right. And Friday, I had the mixing meeting, and things just really fell together in that. And the book showed up, so huge week. It was actually a kind of funny story with the books. They messed up again. But they messed up on the information they had. They thought the books were going to be printed on the 19th. They were actually being shipped out on the 19th. So, mess up in my favor for once. The books that we are reviewing this week are, let's see what we got here. Yeah, What I Learned Losing $1 Million. And remember, you guys voted on that. You can vote on Twitter each week. I'll put up a little vote thing, and you can vote on what book I read next. And I'm also going to review Gary Vee's The Thank You Economy. So, starting with What I Learned by Losing $1 Million. This is by Jim Paul and Brendan Moynihan. I'm saying his name wrong. Anyway, there's a lot of books on success. There's a lot of books on how to make $1 million. I mean, I've read some of them. The $1 Million Handbook by Grant Cardone, Rich Dad Poor Dad. There's just a lot of books out there that say, hey, get rich quick, or this is how you make $1 million, or this is how you do stock market, and this is how you do. The book actually mentioned a funny one. This is how you make $1 million on the plains, right, by doing cattle, which I have a buddy who does cattle, and he does pretty well. But there's always books out there telling you how to make $1 million doing this. And this book kind of addresses not how to make $1 million, but how do you lose $1 million, and to find the common threads in why people lose money, how they lose money. And I thought it was very, very interesting, or a different approach to success. One part of the book, and I'm going off my notes here. One part of the book talked about all these different just Warren Buffett-esque people, and Warren Buffett was one of them, of how to make money in stocks, right? And so they all had different approaches. I mean, it was like 20 different people, and it was like 20 different approaches to how to make money in the stock market. And so all of them had different ideas of what was a good strategy. And the author as well points out that's pretty peculiar when you think about, like, they're all very successful. Like, we can't find one common thread as to why they made money. And so this book found that if you looked at what they said about their losses, so we're not going to talk about how to make money, we're actually going to talk about how to, like, what happens when you lose money. There actually was a common thread in all of them. They said, every single one of them said, the secret to managing your losses is minimizing your loss. I know it sounds, oh, well, of course, minimize your loss. But this book actually breaks down and gives you a formula for that. So I'm just going to jump into it. So it starts with where we equate success. Like, where do we find success, and how do we measure success in ourselves? That being said, when you have a success, what do you attribute that to? So in sports and our everyday lives, we usually contribute success to us. So if I win a wrestling match, it's because I trained really hard, right? And I won. And so we think of it as winning and losing. Well, successes in the stock market or successes in business aren't necessarily a reflection of yourself. And I think that's one big mistake that the book points out that we make, is that we see our successes and our failures in business as winning and losing, when in fact it's not like sports. They are a lot of times 50-50 choices, especially when you're looking at the stock market. You're looking at a position, and you say they used olive oil, or no, it was bean oil as one of the examples, because this particular person, Paul, he lost $1 million and his whole entire life in this bean oil extract. And what happened was, we see these as winning and losing. So we make a bad decision or a 50-50 shot, right? In the market's either going to go up or it's going to go down. And when it goes down, we think it's going to go up. We see that as a personal loss. Like, oh, I must not have been right. When really it was just a position. And once it goes down a certain amount of number, you just exit that position and get into a different position, right? To minimize your losses. Profit and loss are completely different when we're talking about winning and losing. They're completely different things. Profit and loss needs to be separate from winning and losing. So the common thread in in each of those individuals that we talked about was, the cloud has me, man. I feel like I'm doing these every week and I'm still like stumbling over my words. It's too much. Too much reading has been going on. The common thread was to manage your losses. So part of this comes from a psychological factor, right? So there's a psychological factor in loss that we equate it to. If I'm wrong, then that means that when I lose, that means I'm wrong. It's not necessarily so. We actually can differ or differentiate those two feelings. So whether we've internalized it or if it's an external, really we want to have external views on profit, external views on loss when it comes to finance. But when we internalize those views, we actually end up staying in horrible positions for way too long. They use an example of gamblers. They say, hey, you took $1,000 at the casino. All right, I lost $300. All right, you want to take let's get out of here, man. It's not a good night. We're losing. Yeah, but I've already lost $300. I want to try to win it back. It's an emotional thing, right? I want to win this back. We go down all the way to like, hey, we're down to $20. Hey, dude, let's just cut our losses and go. I've lost too much to quit now, right? I've lost too much to quit now. I'm going to stay in the position and try to win it all back. And, if I could just get back to even, then I'll bounce out. I know anybody who's ever been to a casino has said that. I've said that. If I could just get back to even. And one of the things that we can notice in this emotional-driven decision-making are the 5 stages of grief. And I found that very, very interesting. So the first one is denial, right? We lose $500 and we're like, oh man, how did that even happen? Like, I don't understand it. The second is anger. Kind of ticked off about losing $500 at the casino. And then we go into bargaining. Well, if I could just get back to even, right? If I could just get back to even, then I'll get out. Then we get into depression. Oh man, I lost $500. And finally, we accept it, right? Weeks go by and we're like, it's cool. I'm over it. It's fine. Never going to gamble again. I experienced this actually in stocks. And the book specifically talks about getting tips. And the amateur gets tips and they take them. That was me. I got a tip on American Apparel. That American Apparel was going to skyrocket. Problem was, American Apparel had been skyrocketing from 14 cents all the way to like $1 when I bought it, right? And the tip was, American Apparel's blowing up. It's going to blow up. It's going to get bought out by Target. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. You got to jump on now. You got to get in. So I buy 300 shares. And it's not a lot of money, $300. That's not much. But I bought 300 shares of American Apparel. And it's funny because I went through this exact same thing. As soon as I bought, American Apparel started dropping. So I went to denial. Oh, it's going to go back up, right? The tip was good. I know the guy. It's a good tip, right? I read all this stuff and I start looking at all the pros, and Target is interested, and it's going to go back up. At the same time, the guy who runs American Apparel is like getting sued by like 7 women for sexual harassment. But I'm ignoring that, right? I'm ignoring that like huge thing that just came out because Target's interested. Like that was why the tip was made in the first place, right? And then it gets all the way down to like 50 cents. I'm pissed off. Well, come on, man. Like, I don't play stocks. Like, I've never done this before, but the tip was good. Target's interested. Why is it going down? So what if this guy has like all these sexual harassment things? Like, he's not even going to be there, right? It has nothing to do with him. Target's going to buy it. Then you go into depression. Like, it's down to like 15 cents, and you're like, oh man, like I could have spent that $300 on other stuff. Like, what was I doing? I skipped bargaining. Because I totally went through bargaining. If it just gets back to $1, just let it get back to $1. Even praying, God, let it get back to $1. I'll just get out, and I'll keep the $300, right? And then finally, acceptance. Obviously, after they file for bankruptcy, you have to accept it. I think the stock is at $10 or 10 cents, and it just stays at 10 cents. I don't think it ever can go up. I don't know anything about stocks. I should have been buying stocks in the first place. Eventually, I'd like to learn about them, but that's like 10, 15, 30 books away. So I know nothing about stocks. I failed miserably. Um, Another interesting story was Lyndon B. Johnson in Vietnam. They said that Lyndon B. Johnson had internalized and emotionalized his decision to go to Vietnam, which was part of the reason why he stayed way too long. They said that he was even waking up at like 2 a.m. in the morning to account for the time change, and going down to the war room and actually like getting in and like picking some of the bomb locations himself, and like just wiling out on this decision or this position of we're going to win Vietnam. And I mean, that just makes no sense. I mean, think about someone who isn't a military strategist, right? Getting down and being like, "Oh, I think I'm going to pick all the spots. Like I'm going to shift this over here because we get this idea that the wins are because of us." Speculation. Speculation is the key to breaking this trend of making emotional decisions. So speculation really is you making educated decisions on things that you think are going to happen, right? Now, speculation is not the only, it's really just the process. What we'd like to do is we would like to actually set boundaries and rules for these investments that we make. So in your speculation, you're going to get a game plan of, okay, these are the risks, these are the rewards, this is how much money I'm willing to lose and risk in this. So I'm going to put $100,000 into this stock. Now I'm willing to lose $6,000. When I've lost $6,000, I'm going to get out no matter what. And I'm willing to gain, like when I hit X amount of dollars, I'm either going to get out, or let's say when I hit $135,000, right? So I've made $35,000. When I hit that, I'm going to get out if it drops below $6,000. Cool? So if I get down to like 29,000, then I'm out. Right? So I reset but those are the game plan. Like that's the game plan. And once I'm in the position, I can't change that game plan, because anything that I change after that is emotionally driven and not system driven. So I thought that was awesome. I love this book. This book told a bunch of stories of why he had the mindset of equating his losses and his wins to financial losses and wins to winning and losing to him. He just thought he was better than other people, and really good insight. It's nice. I mean, someone once said that smart people learn from their mistakes, wise people learn from others' mistakes. It'd be nice to learn from this guy losing $1 million, because I'm sure nobody wants to actually lose $1 million to learn the lessons that he did. Great book, 5 stars. Awesome book. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to go over it again. Interesting read, and I knocked it out in like 2 days. Like, that's how interesting it was. So 5-star rating for what I learned losing $1 million. Second book, Thank You Economy, Gary Vaynerchuk. This was one that I picked. I really like Gary V. He's a freaking genius. Came out of nowhere. He's been grinding since he was like 10 years old. Customer Service is Back. And this is a little bit of an old book. This is like, we're talking the dawn of like Twitter. So 2000, I'd say it's got to be like 2010. I don't know when it was, but it's got to be 2010, because I was in the master's program when Twitter kind of like came out. And that's, you know what? It was 2011 when I first got a Twitter account, and it was like this brand new thing. There were famous people on it, all the above, and that was like before the blue check and all that stuff. But this whole book of the Thank You Economy is the idea that when commerce started, we didn't have the internet, right? And there was no way to get to touch your customer other than a one-on-one conversation. So during these one-on-one conversations, this is where you build the relationships. Well, when we got the internet, we got this like distance from the companies that sell us things, And that distance created this like weird relationship with the consumer. But now because of social media, it's almost like customer service is back, right? Because we have more power. So I put down the social media represents a huge power shift back to the consumer. So when we started commerce, we had a great we had power, right? And so they gave us great customer service. And then when the internet showed up, it was like, well, we're just going to automate everything and we're going to lower the customer service, but we're going to pass the savings on to you. And the American public was just like, okay, like what are you going to do? AT&T outsources all their help to India, and sometimes the guy doesn't speak good English or the girl doesn't speak good English, but my bill's cheaper, right? At least that's what they tell me. But with the power of the internet now, like literally you have the ability to crush a company. We look at United Airlines. They just got freaking smashed by bad customer service. And I don't understand why companies haven't figured it out yet. It's 2017. You can't pull that crap anymore. Like it blows my mind when companies still fail to do that. And the flight attendants saw everybody filming. What were you thinking? Like, it's freaking insane to me. Anyway, the statistic is 70% of people decide what to buy based on discussions with their friends and family. Those discussions happen online now, though. And the discussions are almost magnified because you have followers and you can really reach out and touch every single one of your friends like that. He tells a story of seeing someone in a shoe shop getting a live commentation on what they should buy. It's kind of like what I do with the voting for the books. Hey, what book should I read next? Not a lot of people vote, but I still get some feedback on what I should read next, and then I read that book next. So it's very live action. So it's a 1990s versus the 2017s, right? And instead of word of mouth, it's word of mouse. And it just happens a lot faster. And companies are starting to figure it out, but there's still some people behind. One thing that I use this a lot. I mean, I'm on every social media platform. My largest is Instagram, and I have like 15,000 followers on Instagram. And it's very interesting in the relationships that I have formed with people just on Instagram. I met them on Instagram. We became friends on Instagram. We've had conversations on Instagram. I've met some of them on Instagram, and I've joined up and teamed up in business with some of them on Instagram. There's this quote by Gary Vee. He says, it's going down in the DM. And I know everybody uses that as like to meet girls and to meet guys and to date in the DM, the direct message. But for businesses, it's going down in the DM. I mean, I've made a lot of awesome contacts in direct messages. I actually talked to one of the contestants from one of my favorite guys, Marcus Lemonis. He has a show, not The Apprentice. What was his? The Apprentice. Anyway, he's on the show The Prophet. He has a new show called, not The Sidekick, The Partner. I think it's The Partner. And I actually talked to one of the contestants on The Partner. He runs his own business. He runs a media company. He has his hand in like 4 or 5 different businesses out in San Diego. And we chatted back and forth on direct message via Instagram. And that's like a huge contact for me. But I did it via the World Wide Web. So these are relationships. And just like regular relationships, they take time. So I'm not going to hit up that guy, right, that I just met. I'm not going to hit him up today and be like, hey, so would you like to loan me some money for some of my business ventures? No, man. It's a relationship just like anything else. And the same thing goes for your Twitter followers. Like I found myself in my early stages of doing Instagram, probably doing this too much, hitting people up for different things. Hey, buy my book over here. Hey, check out Boston and Tucker Beard stuff. Hey, like you're just hitting them with ads all the time, and it's like, man, why am I following you on Instagram if all you ever do is hit me up for ads? So you've got to bring value, and you have to build that relationship first before you can hit people up. And you won't even have to hit people up once that relationship is there. People will hit you up. in your direct messages, and they'll say, "Hey, how do I get your book?" Or how do I get your album? Or when's the album coming out? Or what's this about the wedding thing I've been hearing? You sing at weddings. I've met and sang at people's weddings from Instagram. It's crazy, I know. So you can actually have a level playing field with large corporations because of social media. Emotion is the catalyst for the sale. This was another point that we talked about in Start With Why with Simon Sinek, and I use this in all of my pitches to schools, all of my pitches to churches for music. Everything I do, I try to go start with why. Tell people why you do things, but then tell them what you actually do. And it is an emotionally based decision when you buy something. And so two things kind of come into a factor with that. One, your friends and family drive that emotion very heavily, which is why social media is important. And two, this relationship that you're building with customers becomes emotional once they see you every single day in their feed. They see pictures of you, they see your family, they see your story, they see your Snapchat, they see your Twitter, they see your Facebook. There's people who feel like they know you just from those interactions, and companies can really benefit from being more social rather than being more company-like on social media. So I thought that was a really good point, and I need to do a better job of that. This was probably one of the most interesting points that I read all week and have read in a while. The amount of information that we take in, right? And I know just from the studying that I did for social media and doing my thesis that we see 3,500 ads a day. Just brands, like different brands around. Like you got a brand right in front of you here. You got a brand over here. You got all these wine bottles behind me. Brands. There's probably a logo somewhere on this shirt. Unless I ripped it off, which I probably have. Well, there's brands everywhere we look, right? There's brands on my shoes. There's brands on my pants. There's a brand on my car. Everywhere we go, there's a brand. So this was the information that was just pretty crazy. For every amount of data that was created from the dawn of time, that's every book, every tablet, every movie, every song, everything that was created from the dawn of time to 2003, all that information, all those movies, all those songs, all those recordings, every bit of data that was created from the dawn of time to 2003 is now replicated every 48 hours. What? Like, no wonder I'm freaking ADD. Like, from the dawn of time to 2003, everything that was created, as far as data, is now recreated every 48 hours. This book was written in 2011. Holy crap. Are you kidding me? It's 2017. Like, that's probably up since then. That blew my mind. Gary Vee always does. That's pretty much it for Thank You Economy. Obviously, 5 stars. Crushed it. I'm going to get both of those and highlight the crap out of them. Use them up. I cannot say enough. If you're doing stock, if you guys have stocks at all, I know a couple of my friends do have some stocks. Check out What I Learned Losing $1 Million. It'll probably help you out in some of your investment stuff. And it definitely gave me a better understanding of how the stock market works and what I need to change if I do stocks again. Next book, Traction by Gino Wickman. Crush It by Gary Vee. The Secret of Power Negotiation by Roger Dawson. Those are your 3 options. They will be on Twitter today to vote. I'm going to let you guys vote for 3 days, and we'll see if we can get a couple votes for that. Upcoming next week, we have a website. I got to finish my website. Got to get it done. It's just pressing. I got to get it done before the tour, that's for sure. Book tour. I have 5,000 books now. Time to start setting up the book tour for next school year. Music tour, we're still booking that. My buddy Orlando is getting married next Saturday, so I'm going to be in Fresno and get to see everybody there. That's going to be awesome. Word of inspiration today is more of like a thought of inspiration. I know this was a long episode. I apologize, guys, but I want to get this in. You will never be as young as you are today. That's our quote. Colonel Sanders, Morgan Freeman, Gary Vaynerchuk, they made their starts late. Colonel Sanders was like 65. Morgan Freeman was in his 60s. Gary Vaynerchuk I think he's like 40. I think he's early 40s now. And you're just starting to find out who he is. It's early, man. We get this idea that you got to be rich and famous by the time you're 25 because that's what we see on TV. Or you got to do it by your 35. You got to do it by your 45. You got to do it by your 55. Get out of here. It's early, man. It's early. Plenty of time to stop what you're doing, chase your dreams, make something happen, take over the world. Come on with it. I'm done. I'm out. I'll see you guys next week. Talk to you soon.